Okay. All right. We are in action. So thank you all for joining us tonight. I will be totally honest. I usually wait until like the night before to actually read the chapter. So it's like fresh in my brain. So I literally just finished at about 5 o'clock tonight. And I know that we're only on chapter 2, but as I was reading this, I was just going to myself, yes, yes, yes. Like it's so true. So I just want, a few of you to share your biggest takeaway, if you wouldn't mind. And then I would like to go over some of the questions, and I have some things that I kind of want you to think about. So some things, before some of you share, I want you to really think about, where are you now and where do you want to go? Because I think that's super important with anything in life. We all want something and we wish for something to happen, but are we really sitting down and asking ourselves, what do I want out of my life? What do I want somebody at my 80th birthday to say, like, oh, I remember that Shannon always did this for me. She was always there. Like, what do you want your kids to say about you? What do you want your husband to say about you? What things do you want out of your life? So I think that's a really good piece of advice. Is a lot of us, especially because we have busy lives and we have kids and we put ourselves last, that you don't sit down and actually take the time to really, truly dig deep and ask yourself, what do you want for you? Because that does seem selfish, I know, as a mom, because we can't be that selfish person anymore, but you have to, because you have to remember that you thinking about your future is also your kids' future, your family's future, everybody's future. And if you can make yourself a better person, then why wouldn't you do that? That's where I think our mindset has to go. So who wants to share kind of what their takeaway was? Nobody wants to share? All right, so I'm going to ask you some questions then.
Hold on, I'll just start. Okay,
I have questions. Don't worry, I'm a teacher, man.
Yeah, that's all right. So my biggest takeaway actually was action. That action comes first. I think that has really hit home with me, because like you always think, okay, motivation is first and then you do something. And I was kind of surprised to hear that action is what comes first. And now when I'm comparing that to my running, actually my half marathon training, it kind of all kind of ties into the same thing. And you can see how powerful mindset really is, and the power of thinking that, because like when I have those long runs, I'm thinking like, there's no way that I can do this. And then I talk with somebody and then I end up like running this. And when I run by myself, if I listen to the book, for example, or other stuff, I can run this no problem. But if I listen to just music, then I can't run this. Like I feel tired and stuff. So you can really see that it does happen. And lots of times I don't have the motivation to want to get up, but then I get up anyway, and then I feel great doing it. So, when they said that action comes first and motivation comes second, that really hit home with me. So
I love that. Anybody else want to share? Okay, so let me ask you then, what's the difference between a passion and an interest?
I think one big thing is that you're willing to make sacrifices if it's a passion. Like you're willing to do whatever it takes to spend time feeding that passion and contributing towards it, trying to make it grow. So
I love that. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Anybody else?
I think it's something that you continually think about. Like it's something that like you can't get out of your mind. Like it's one of those that you just, I don't know. Here, I was thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually looked up definitions, to be totally honest, of these, just so that I was that, teacher. I get up there and I actually know kind of what I'm talking about. So it's, basically they talk about that passion is a feeling that gets your blood pumping. It's intense and it's fundamental to your life. An interest passes with time. We forget about it. And it's something you really choose. It's not something that's blood driven. For you know, for me, I'm just going to talk really Plexus, but for me, Plexus is a passion. Getting messages from people that I've changed lives is a passion. I am willing to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday or Sunday to do what I have to drive that passion. You know, there's other passions in life. You know, Stephanie, you're talking about your running, you know, like think about that. Is that an interest or is that a passion? You know, does that drive you, or is it just something you kind of, you know, like to do? Hang on a second.
Mommy.
Oh, there we go. Got it. Okay. So I think that those are just important things to think about, that, you know, teaching is a passion for me. I have a passion for trying to help kids. And there's times in my life where I feel like my passion isn't as strong as what I think it is. But then today, when I'm on the phone over both my breaks trying to talk with a student's therapist and his parents and trying to figure out, like, how can we help him and get him through, you know, his difficulties and stuff, then I know that that's a passion, because I'm taking time away from the other things that I need to get done to help this kid. So I think there's times in life where maybe you don't feel that that passion is truly a passion, but when push comes to shove, you're going for it and you're going to do whatever it takes to get there. So I loved that. Was a good, one of my favorite things. And then I underlined too, he talks about taking risks. You know, like if you don't like what you're doing now, you know, like think about that in your job. Are you happy at your job? You know, if you work another job, or, you know, even be in whatever you do that's not Plexus related, or you can think about Plexus, you know, do you enjoy doing that? Do you like it? Is it something that you want to talk about, or is it just something that you just go to because it makes you money? And I can think about when I go to certain places, I'm not going to name names, but there's certain places I will go that I just want to turn around and say, do you not like what you do? Because you're a real Debbie Downer, you know, you're not treating people the way that you should, kind of thing. So I think that is so important that, you know, he said it's a risk making a change from what you're currently doing. So what if you fail? But it says, but isn't there also great risk in staying where you are? There is, because you're going to be miserable for the rest of your life, maybe, you know, and you're going to make other people feel miserable around you. I love too when he talks about the E&E. Do you guys remember what E&E stands for? Anyone want to unmute and say?
I got that one. Energy and excellence.
Yes.
Passion gives you energy.
Mm-hmm. It does. It fuels your fire. I mean, I think about that sometimes it fuels me to want to do too much. And so obviously you have to back that down a little bit. So I feel like sometimes your passions have to, you know, you kind of have to be in check and make sure that your passions are not excluding others from your life as well. I think that's really important to say. And then, what was the other thing? So the thing that I really took from this, and as you know, Allison, I'm sure you can definitely add to this too, but I wouldn't have considered myself being a true leader or really understanding what that role meant before I started Plexus. I wasn't really a leader in teaching. I mean, yeah, I get up and talk in front of kids all day, but they're 9 and 10-year-olds. You know, they believe whatever I say, and it's different though leading your peers and helping them fulfill their passion and fulfill their dreams. And it's hard to know how to do that sometimes. And especially when you're friends with people and you create this friendship, sometimes it's really hard to draw that line between friendship and leading them, because obviously you want that friendship, but then you have to be that leader role too. And so, you know, definitely when he, like what you guys said about him talking about taking action, you know, that's something where you have to really ask yourself, you know, what do you want first? And are you willing to make the sacrifices that it takes to do it? You know, that's the biggest thing in this, you know, in life, in this business. I'm just talking most about this business portion of it. But if your dream is to be a diamond someday, there are sacrifices that you're going to have to make. And that's just part of it. It really, because he said it boils down to initiative, making your goals public, and then becoming accountable for following through. Those are the biggest things. So if you have an opportunity, I really took this as like coaching calls. If you've never had a coaching call before, I would highly recommend it, because it's this huge accountability piece. And when you make your goals public to somebody else and they're checking in with you, are you more apt to do it? Because somebody's going to be going, so last week you told me that you wanted to A, B, and C. Where are you at on A, B, and C? What action steps have you taken to kind of get there? Let's see. Sorry, I wrote like a ton of notes in here. So I just wanted to ask, as far as sacrifices and stuff, what are some sacrifices that you make for whatever your passion may be, whether you want to talk Plexus or whether you want to talk about other things? What are some sacrifices that you make? Because I think sometimes sacrificing is hard, but maybe hearing some other things that other people sacrifice might give you an idea to go, oh, I could totally do that. And it wouldn't be that hard for me to do, but maybe you just haven't thought about it. So do you have sacrifices that you have made to help get your end result? Man, you're all quiet tonight. You're worse than my class. Come on now. Okay, so none of you sacrifice TV time.
Yeah, I'll talk.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely TV time. I do not watch any TV at all. One of the things that you said, though, Shannon, really struck me with teaching. I often tell my husband, like, I can't wait till the day that I can quit teaching and just do Plexus full time. But what's really weird is as soon as the school year starts, like, I'm totally invested. It's something I'm passionate about. I love teaching the students that I have. And like every minute that I'm at school during the day, like that's where my mind is at. So that's a struggle for me, though, is to balance all of my passions between teaching and Plexus and CrossFit. Because like over the summer, I have 2 passions to balance. And during the school year, I have 3 passions to balance. So it just becomes tricky. And with teaching, I went through a phase where I was a classroom teacher for a number of years. And then I was a leader. I was a literacy leader and a coach for other teachers. And so one of the sacrifices I made for myself was to kind of scale back on being that person that always had to be out in that leadership role. And I still want to do a quality job at my career, but at the same time, not signing up for all those extras that I used to sign up for so that I can make time for my other passions, I guess is one of the big sacrifices that I've made. And just knowing that, I'm not going to be that in that leadership role, I guess, as obviously as I was before. I mean, I still feel like I'm a leader in what I do, but it's more in a subtle way, not, and being involved in every single thing like I was before, where I felt like I had to be part of the school instructional leadership team and I had to be a part of this and that. So that's something I've had to give up.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't do any extras because, well, as any of you teachers, I don't do any extras because it doesn't benefit me on my evaluations. So then I'm like, why would I go through doing some of those things when it's not benefiting me and it's not benefiting the kids? So there's, I don't want to say there's no point to it because there is, but I definitely have had to dial back. And I think about too in this book where, he talks about being a person that you want to be around. Hold on, where that noise is coming from. Ooh, there we go. Okay. Like being around people who fuel you and people who drive that passion and make you be a better person. And think about in your daily life, when you're around people who are negative and aren't passion driven and aren't in that positivity, how does that make you feel? I deal with that a lot in my workplace, and I think about the fact where I will say to them, how about instead of saying, oh my gosh, can you believe what so-and-so did today? How about, wow, you know what? So-and-so was just kind of having a rough day, but I'm really trying to help so-and-so through this day. You know, just by the way you change the things you say, really, you know, and that's what draws I think all of us to Plexus is the positivity, the people that are definitely passion driven by this business and by these products and the changes that it has helped you made and helped you become a better person, that you want everybody to want that. And so I think it's really easy for us in this business to be around those like-minded people, but maybe in your, you know, if you have another job or, you know, another place that you go to on a daily basis, whether it be the gym or whether it be somewhere else, you know, those are opportunities that you can be a positive light and be that passion-driven person for somebody else. And that's the thing I feel like we don't remember in this business, that one thing you say could change somebody's whole entire life. You know, these products are life-changing, but so is this business. This business is life-changing. These relationships are life-changing. I mean, I have lifelong friends that I know would have never even occurred if it weren't for sharing a passion, and a passion that I didn't know that I had that was inside me, kind of thing. So, I don't know. You guys have anything else that really struck you?
Shannon, I'll add, one thing that really struck me was the part that said, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. And who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. And that is something that, like, I feel that I've always, since I started Plexus 2 years ago, I always just feel like I've listened to my heart from day one with it. Totally something out of my comfort zone. Never thought I'd do anything like that. And I will tell people that I'm close to, like, I always feel like it was kind of a little God, like a whisper, you know, and I just feel like listening to your heart, with really learned as I've gotten older to follow more. So that's just something that really struck me with this chapter.
Yeah, and I think too, even as a mom, when you have that gut instinct, you know, when you have, you know, you all know that gut instinct, you have to follow that. It's the same thing as your heart. When you know something is there and you have to trust in that. Definitely. This was one of my, the poem that was in there. Do you guys remember that poem? I put like a humongous star by it, and it's so true, because I'm just going to read it. If there were ever a time to dare, to make a difference, to embark on something worth doing, it's now. Not for any grand cause necessarily, but for something that tugs at your heart, something that's your aspiration, something that's your dream. You owe it to yourself to make your days here count. Have fun, dig deep, stretch, dream big. Know, though, that things worth doing seldom come easy. There will be good days and there will be bad days. There will be times when you want to turn around, pack it up, and call it quits. Those times tell you that you are pushing yourself, that you are not afraid to learn by trying. And then he put in there that taking these steps are necessary to live your dreams, and what you want to do will cost you. You will have to work hard. You will have to make sacrifices. You will have to keep learning and growing. Are you willing to pay that price? Know this, most people aren't. And right there, I wrote, what sets diamonds aside? Right there is because most people aren't willing to do that, but the people that are the people that make their dreams become a reality. So when you think about your dreams and becoming a reality, think about being in that moment. You know, I think about, you know, I'm not saying about the whole Hawaii thing. I don't have a little bit of FOMO right there. But then I think to myself of there's a reason that I'm not there. And I think about, you know, is it good? Has this journey cost me a little bit? Yep. Did I have to work hard? I sure did. Did I have to make sacrifices? I did. Were there times I wanted to quit? Yep, there were. But yet this passion in my heart never quit. It was always there. It just needed a little digging out some days. And I've always told my students the same thing, that whatever your dreams are, don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't reach them, because the only difference between you and somebody else is your willingness to fight through when times get tough, because you're going to hit mountains, you're going to hit curves, there's going to be high winds that throw you off course. But if you get right back on that course and you make it right through, there's nobody that can tell you can't do it. And so that's how, when I read this chapter, that's exactly how I felt, that that's what drives you when times get tough. So that's why I feel like knowing your why and having that dream is so important for those specific times. And I loved the part too that he talks about when talking about success and barriers, that we're our own worst enemies. And that is why we're all reading this book, because we are our own worst enemies, and we have to learn how to not be our own worst enemies. And I loved when he said, I wrote in here, I'm like a total teacher. I don't know. I like write smileys and stuff as I'm reading. It's what I teach my kids. So I think that's just probably why I do it. Leaving your tracks in your writing is what we call it. But I wrote in there where he said, most of the accomplishments I've achieved in life, I began to attempt before I was really ready. And I wrote in there, do something scary. Do something that scares you. Okay. Tracy asked me to lead this book club, and I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. Allison, I remember when you asked me to do a Zoom call, I was like, I don't even, me? Why me? Like, I can't do this. I don't have anything important to say to anybody, but I was in my own head and I didn't believe it. But these people believed in me and asked me to do it, and I couldn't say no. I wanted to make every excuse in the book. But if I had said no, then I wouldn't be at the place that I am now and learning and growing and doing those things. So do something scary. If you've never talked to somebody about anything, do that. If I'm just going to talk plexus because it's just easier for me. But, if you've never talked to somebody in person or had a coffee date, schedule one. If you've never learned how to use Post My Party, learn how to do it. Just make up a random one and make up a fake group and put some posts in there and learn how to do it. I mean, my first time I did it, you guys, the videos didn't go off. I was behind the screen, like wanting to cry because I'm frantically trying to figure out how to get this video to post, and then it's late, and it was crazy, and it happened 2 times in a row. But that's the only way I learned how to do it. It was scary. I wanted to cry. I did cry a little bit. I called Tracy bawling, but I made it through. And so do something that scares you, because it's the only way you're going to grow and you're going to get out of your own head. Whether it's do a YouTube where you're doing a sip and see that's on YouTube, or, oh my gosh, Allison, I remember the first time you asked me to do, I was shaking in my shoes. My face was beet red and I couldn't even believe that I was doing it. So I could go on and on about scary moments and just letting yourself just go, I'm just going to do this, and just seriously do it. You will feel so full of pride when you get done that you won't be able to fit through the door, trust me. All right. I think that was really about all the notes that I had. My other favorite thing, I wrote a big yes with the smiley face, was the day, the people say that there are 2 great days in a person's life: the day you were born and the day you discover why. I want to encourage you to seek what you were put on this earth to do, then pursue it with all your effort. Okay? I know that all of us were put here for a reason. We are all on this call right now for a particular reason. You guys have already helped change at least one person's life, if not many people's lives. Or you're changing your own life, or you're changing your family's life. You're doing something and you're pursuing that. So I feel like when you discover that this is why you are here, you're meant to do this, you're meant to change somebody's life. And don't ever forget that. That's a really big gift to give somebody. So that's it for me. I'm trying to keep it in a half an hour. Do you ladies have anything else? I feel like I did most of the talking.
I would just like to add, if you guys haven't taken the time to actually do the questions at the end yourself, I think that's where we're all gonna get the most bang for our buck out of this book, is to actually do that self-evaluation. And this whole chapter is about awareness. And so if you don't actually take the time to really think about, obviously your why and what drives you and motivates you, and even just thinking about your strengths or your weaknesses or opportunities for growth. I think, if you didn't do it before the call, I would say make time before next week to go ahead and do those, because I think that's where we're all going to grow the most.
Thank you. That was one thing I forgot to even mention. sometimes it's really hard to think about your strengths. And because we are so in our own heads about, well, I don't know what I do that's really good. So if you can't think of a strength that you have, ask your upline, ask your sideline, ask somebody, because I guarantee that even though some of you I've never seen in person, I do watch your posting and see what you post, and I'm sure I could probably come up with something that you are really good at just by watching what you do on Facebook and those kinds of things. So don't ever hesitate, and don't think that you do, ask your spouse or ask somebody if you're not really sure, because everybody has something that they're good at. And everybody has something that they could work on. I always talk about that. We're not robots. We're not perfect. I'm far from it. So thanks for adding that. Yes, and definitely if you haven't done those questions, those will make you sit and think. All right. Anything else? Chapter 3 is for next week, and Tracy should be home, so she'll be back on the bandwagon. I'm off duty for that one.
Well,
all right.
Yep.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful night. You're welcome.
Thank
Like
you.
my green.
I love it. I noticed that right away.
With my sweatshirt. I love it.
Woo woo.
All right. See you, ladies.
Bye.
Thank you.
Oops,
Bye.
Stop recording.